Alzheimer's disease, a form of dementia, affects millions of people worldwide, impacting not only those diagnosed but also their family and caregivers. This disease is inherited in an autosomal dominant pattern, which means that an infected person will inherit the genes from an affected parent. However, not all with AD have the APOE allele, and not all people who have this allele will develop the disease. About 15 to 25% of people who have the allele and about 2 to 5% carry two copies. Early onset Alzheimer's is found to form in 3 different genes, according to Snipopedia, which causes plaque buildup in the brain. Although it is not clear what causes late onset Alzheimer's, it is possibly related to a variation in one or more genes combined with the lifestyle and environmental factors.
23andMe is a popular genetic testing company that many use to test their genetics and find out information about their ancestry and, more importantly, look at their genetic predisposition to certain diseases. On their website, 23andMe states that they only test for one variation of a gene when testing for Alzheimer's disease, the E4 variant in the APOE gene. Having this E4 variant makes it far more likely for you to develop Alzheimer's disease. It is not fully known how the APOE gene relates to Alzheimer's, but it is believed to be associated with an increased number of protein clumps called amyloid plaques in the brain tissue. Having only one copy of this variant leads to an increased risk of developing AD, but also has the possibility of not developing at all. Having 2 copies of this variant leads to an extremely high risk of developing Alzheimer's. There are multiple other variants of APOE, but 23andMe does not test for these, even though they could lead to an increased risk of Alzheimer's. According to the National Institute of Aging's Alzheimer's genetic fact sheet, there are even other genes such as APP, PSEN1, and PSEN2 that could lead to the development of AD, but 23andMe does not test for these, unlike our company's product.
Imagine being told you don't have Alzheimer's, just to start forgetting you were told you won't have it. 23andMe does not test for the amyloid precursor protein on chromosome 21, presenilin 1 on chromosome 14, and presenilin 2 on chromosome 1, which are all associated with developing Alzheimer's. Our test will make sure to look at all these genetic variations on these chromosomes. In the APP gene, the variant RS28186561 has 2 different versions of the SNP. They are GA and GATC.
The 23andMe Alzheimer's test website says that 99% of the test results are correct. While unlikely, the test may provide false positive or false negative results due to only testing for one gene that has been linked to Alzheimer's. With that gene, it is also not guaranteed that you'll develop the disease. Our company promises you that we will provide the most precise test there is on the market, as we will look at the genetic variations that are associated with Alzheimer's that are known, meaning we will look at the APP, PSEN1 and PSEN2 genes, including their allele mutations, which are associated with early and late onset Alzheimer's, to ensure you the most reliable results.
There are 2 important limitations to consider when thinking about taking a 23andMe test. For one, the 23andMe test does not test for all variants of gene mutations of Alzheimer's, more specifically late onset Alzheimer's, as it does not provide information on early onset Alzheimer's. It only tests for one common variant that is found in gene mutations, which defeats the purpose of taking this test. When looking at Medline Plus, there was an indication that there are many possible gene variants for both stages of Alzheimer's, instead of one gene variant being tested for by 23andMe.
A difficult reality about testing for AD is if you test positive for the gene, there is no treatment or cure. Some people might like to know that they will develop this chronic disease, while others might not and have a harder time facing what their future might look like. While it is valuable to know the future of your health, after developing AD symptoms, affected individuals need around-the-clock care for routine and daily tasks. This information can also cause an emotional and financial burden on the individual and their family, with costs coming from the original DNA testing, future medical visits, and even senior living or hospice once the condition has worsened. Another possible effect of receiving these results is found in an article written by K.G. Fulda and K. Likens for the Journal of Medical Ethics, where it is discussed about the possibility of facing discrimination from insurance companies using the results of these tests as reasons for not providing services. What we do know is that because 23andMe only tests for one variation out of the many that have been linked to an increased risk, a patient could test negative and still develop AD, or even potentially test positive for the gene and not develop AD at all. Overall, testing your genetics is in general itself a risk because the results can't be 100% clear. And no matter what the result, you will need to consult a doctor.